The reason I get watches like this on the channel is because I'm a geek. I'm an absolute geek. I love toys, I love things, and with watches like this, there's actually a couple of things. There's 3 things that I wanted to check out on this watch that I thought are worth it. And first and foremost, the thing's got tritium tubes and BGW9, but it's got T100 tritium tubes. And I wanted to see and experience for myself if it's strong enough, if it actually lives up to being legible, and in the real world, is it functional? Secondly, I want to have a close look at that case back, because the watch features 300 meters of water resistance, and as you can see, it's a screw down, as in screws on the actual case back. And I think that's the way case backs should be made for greater water resistance, and I'll speak about that. And lastly, I want to speak about what's behind that case back. And the watch comes with a Sellita SW200. So specifications wise, it looks good, but does it live up to its expectations? Let's check it out. So what I've got in the hand is an Aquatico Super Ocean, and a very interesting watch. This company reached out to send this watch out for me to have a look at. It's an interesting piece. Like I said in the intro, I like the specifications. However, in certain areas, I don't think they work well. Not yet. And the reason I say not yet, I'll explain. But first and foremost, looking at the specs of the watch, you've got a diameter of 42 millimeters with a case height coming in at 14.4 mil. I measure a lug to lug of 49.6 and a lug width of 22. Now that crown is a 6.8mm signed screw down crown, and it offers 300 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on this bracelet, sized to my 18cm wrist, comes in at exactly 175 grams. Now having an 18cm wrist, the watch fits quite nice on my wrist. As you can see, 42, that 49.6 lug to lug is on the larger side, so be aware of that. The height comes in at exactly 14.4 to the top of that sapphire crystal, and the comfort on this bracelet, it's been good, albeit the watch does come in at 175 grams, something to be aware of. Now looking closer at that bracelet, you've got female end links, it's got a small taper from 22mm to 20, you've got a milled swivel and a pressed clasp with 4 micro adjustments. It seems to be finished well, nothing untoward, but it functions good nonetheless. Also, the watch features a pin and collar system for adjustment. Now I spoke at the beginning of the video about that case back, and the fact that it's got 6 screws and it's held down, I like that. So when it comes to case backs and you have to screw a case back down, you get what's called torque resistance. Against the rubber seal, you've got friction until you actually tighten it down. So that's why they put lubricant, so that it actually minimizes that friction as much as they can. However, when you've got screws that hold the case back down against that rubber seal, there's no torque resistance, so you're pushing down on the rubber seal, and in my eyes, that's a much better option. Although you've got 6 different screws where water can potentially leak through, if it's done properly, it's actually a better option for longevity for the rubber seal. It's held placed without any warping or distortion. Now the movement of the watch is a Sellita SW200. It's yielding healthy results. I've had it on the time grapher, roughly 3 seconds per day, a very healthy amplitude. Now drawing our attention to that crown, it's a 6.8mm signed screw down crown. It's got crown guards. We can unscrew it. There's a healthy pop. 2 clicks, we can hack the movement and we can adjust the time. Lock it in, the movement starts. Now a single click will allow us to adjust that date, and the date is positioned at exactly roughly 4:30. So I don't know if you can hear that, there's a healthy pop as it pops into place. And away you go. We put that back in. The winding experience is very nice, good resistance, and the latch down experience, it's a nice smooth transition, it locks in, and you've got 300 meters of water resistance. Now one of the main reasons I wanted to check this watch out was that lume. The fact that you've got tritium T100 tubes all the way around, T25 on the handset, you've got BGW9 on the actual bezel, and C3 on the tips of those hands. So how does it work in conjunction with each other? And my experience in the real world, if I show you a lume shot, you can see that this thing shines up quite nicely. This thing's got quite a bit going on, it's lighting up, but I just don't feel that the tritium is up to speed with that BGW9. In fact, there's a couple of things that I think this watch could benefit from. Because the experience has been having the watch in the evening, let's say next to your bedside table, when there's no light, the BGW9 finally fades and all you've got is the tritium. So the tritium will light all day, all night, not an issue. However, that handset, first and foremost, it's T25, so they're not as strong as the actual markers. And secondly, they're very thin. You've only got a very thin tube pointing the way, and in the evening trying to actually get a gauge of where that time is, it's not as legible as I expected. And I only compare this to a watch like my Seiko Marine Master. If you look at the Marine Master's hands, they are broad, they are wide. In the evening, you'll look at it at 3, 4 in the morning, and that thing, you can see exactly where the hour is, exactly where the minute hand is. That's what this is lacking, thickness in those handsets. But if I was to compare the intensity of the tritium to the BGW9, there is no comparison. Having C3 on the tips of those hands, again, when that fades, there is no arrows pointing the way. So there's a couple little quirks that I don't like, that I think could have been done better. Overall, the build and finish is very good. Now if I turn my attention to the bezel of the watch, it's a ceramic insert with BGW9, it's a 120 click unidirectional. And the action, I've found it's a little bit on the firm side, albeit there is no back play, which is good, but it is firm and a little bit, probably 0.5 millimeter smaller than that case. So a little bit hard to grab. It's quite loud, pronounced, but it's firm or a little bit stiff. And it seems to line up just nicely. So overall, a functional bezel, not the most pleasing, but it does work very well. So what are the positives and negatives of the watch that I can find? And first and foremost, that date window. If you look at the date window, it's roughly about 4:30 on the actual dial. I don't mind it. It could have been at 6, could have been at 3. I don't really care that it's at 4:30. I have watches and I have had watches in the past. This particular one here, I feel is a little bit tight. The font itself seems to be sitting right at the edge of that date window. So that's something that I think could have been rectified with a slightly bigger opening. Secondly is the price. This particular one here is a Sellita SW200 version. It comes in at $799 US. However, on their webpage, they do have a discount code, but it can be a little bit pricey for what you get. They also offer this version in the PT5000, a different movement, coming in at $599. Again, after discount, you get it a little bit cheaper. Another negative is that weight. Coming in at 175 grams, it's pretty beefy, it's pretty chunky, but in saying that, it has been balanced on the wrist, but there is a bit of weight there. After a few hours, you do start to feel it. Also, another letdown for me is the tritium tubes and the BGW9 combination. It's not there yet, it's a good effort, but I think a little bit more planning and a little bit more strength in those tritium tubes, you'd have a more functional piece. What are the positives of the watch? Well, it offers 2 years of warranty. The movement seems to be very good, very well regulated, so I was impressed with that. I like the case back. I like its functionality. The way the crown functions, very good. So it's a bit of a mix between pluses and minuses on this watch. So let me know your thoughts, guys. Hit me up in the comments. What do you think of this watch? I wanted to get on the channel because I am a geek. I like geeky things. I like things like this. Tools, mucking around, little sort of features. I wanted to see if they're worth their while. Some are, some aren't, but overall, a functional, usable watch. Could have been better. Hopefully Aquatico listens to the review, takes some pointers away. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you all in the next video.